It is time for another edition of the Fight HQ podcast. Of course, I'm Jason Voigt. That is the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. here to break down UFC 325. Goes down tomorrow here in the United States, Sunday morning down in Australia. Of course, the weigh-ins already took place. Of course, since this fight card is in Australia, the fighters have an additional 11 extra hours to rehydrate from the time they weighed in there. Of course, we did lose one fight where a fighter magically weighs 122. Then they reweigh him again, and now he's 129. Pete, I have seen a lot of crazy things in this sport. That's mastering the scale, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. And he was attempting to pull a similar situation like Cormier did with the towel, except he was resting his elbows on the box. And if you're that light, then why did you need the box, or why did you need the curtain? And then they took it away, and homeboy is 129. So that fight was canceled. I actually thought that fight was going to be very, very exciting. I mean, these road to UFC fights, it's regional MMA essentially, but it's international regional MMA. So it's even more difficult, especially because strength of schedules are sketchy, and just the variance is significant, right? Like I don't have a ton of conviction on a lot of these because I feel like they should mostly be lined close because they are not UFC talented fighters compared to what we're accustomed to.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Of course, we're going to break this card down fight by fight. We'll break it down from a DFS angle. Also, we'll talk about the betting side of the equation as well. If you do got any questions, you can line those up in the chat. We'll get to those. Of course, we do have our DraftKings contest. That link to that contest is already in the description of this show, so be sure to get into that contest. Congratulations to 𝗣𝗲𝘁𝘀 for taking down the contest last week, scoring 538 points. And just kind of briefly go over what we saw last week, Pete. Kind of a crazy, the fact of our top two scores are both in the 7,000 range. 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐵 at 7.3, scoring 144 points. Alex Perez at 7.5, scoring 129. And then the 9,000 range was a wide range last week. You had great performances by Ty Miller, Josh Holcutt, Waldo Cortez Acosta, all three of those fighters getting over 100 points. Miller and Holcutt over 120 points. But then you look at someone like 𝗻𝗄𝗏 at 9.9, only scoring 76 points. Gauthier at 9.7, only scores 63 points. Natalia Silva at 9.4, only scoring 60 points. That's not really a shock to us there. I will tell you this. One of my thoughts about last week's fights, Gauthier. Does this guy know how to throw a combination?
I know. Very single shot type of guy.
Dude, I'm watching the fights with my boy Nick, and we're looking at that fight, and I'm just going, it's all single shots. Can I get a 1-2?
Yeah.
Can I get a one? I'm not asking for a 3-punch combination, 4-punch combination. Hell, I mean, just give me 2 straight punches in a row.
Yeah, and I think largely it was due to the footwork. I mean, he was having a hard time tracking down his opponent outside the first punch he landed, knocked him on his ass. But yeah, I looked at that fight, and it's like, yeah, he's a powerhouse, but I do see some subtle flaws and some things that he can work on. Granted, he's very young. But yeah, I mean, that fight getting stretched out for 15 minutes was, we knew sometime, at one point he was going to get some minutes and log some rounds, but I didn't really think that was going to be the one, but sure enough, it happened.
One of the things I will tell you as I'm thinking about how I'm developing my DFS lineups and my betting slips for every UFC fight card is I'm thinking about what we saw happen last Friday and Saturday, where we lost a fight, Alexander Hernandez versus Michael Johnson. So I was doing some prep yesterday for the MMA Report podcast, and I talked about this. So I see that Dave Martin, who represents Michael Johnson, puts out a statement about the fight cancellation. And then I noticed there's nothing from Alexander Hernandez or his team. So I reach out to a PR contact for the agency that I knew represented him at one time. And I said, hey, do you also represent Alexander Hernandez? They go, yes. I go, is there any statement from him or the management company on what happened? They go, no. I go, okay. So we have one side who's put a statement out. The other side hasn't. Perception versus reality, Right now, it doesn't look good for Alexander Hernandez. I'm going to say that right now. But I was thinking about these gambling controversies we've had over the past couple of years and go, is there any correlation? I found a correlation. You know what all these fighters have in common?
Location?
Yep. Any Colorado-based fighter I'm going to have concerns with. And I'm not saying the fighters are doing anything wrong. I'm just saying if I'm a head coach of a team in Colorado who has UFC fighters, I might be looking at who's in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like a movement like that could have happened with maybe like a serious injury leaked. But I mean, it'd have to leak to like some real big gamblers or somebody that has some inside ties, or to really shift it all across, because it was very odd. I mean, the lines were set for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then it was just instant action and massive movement. I mean, we've seen stuff like that when people step on a scale and they have a terrible weight miss, or we've seen them like nursing an injury or locating staph on a body or something. We're like, oh my gosh, and everybody hammers the side. But late movement like that is very weird, and that's an interesting correlation that you brought up. I mean, there has to be somebody, right? There has to be a common denominator within everything, unless it is just all three so coincidental. It seems odd for it to be coincidental. I don't know.
And I know that, I mean, look, we live in a MMA content world where a lot of creators out there are very negative towards the UFC and Dana White, but I liked what Dana White said after his fight was over. He was asked about it and even admitted, the betting situation is why that fight was canceled. And he said, we got called from the Gambling Integrity Service, and I said, I'm not doing this again. So he pulled the fight.
Yeah.
And so clearly the UFC, I think, has learned from the 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝘀 situation that things need to change there. So it's just something that I'm just going to say, as I'm developing lineups, I'm developing betting slips, it's going to be something in the back of my mind in terms of that. And I said this yesterday on my show. Let's just say you're a $25 player and you got inside information, and all of a sudden you have $1,000 bet. You think your gambling service isn't going to start looking at you like, hold on, you've always been a max $25 better. All of a sudden you're putting down $1,000 bet.
Yeah. I mean, it should, right? It should be pretty easy to track. I mean, the paper trail, and not only that, right? Like, we got these couple Colorado instances, but you got to think back in the Glory MMA days too, with the Molina and the Derek Minner incident. So, I just think it's just everything. You see the NBA, you saw the coach, what was it, 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿𝐵𝐵? Was that his name or something? And then you have other people a part of sports, and whether they're getting pressure for somebody else to do it, or they're looking for their own, looking out for their own interest. I don't know, but regardless, the UFC's on top of it. And I think when there was no public knowledge of an injury or public knowledge of why, like if everybody sees like this guy's got like, he looks like he's got a terrible shoulder, like he hurt his shoulder throughout camp, and then the action moves the line. I don't think they're going to pull that, but when there's literally nothing out there publicly, and then that happens, it does raise a red flag.
No doubt about it. But of course, we're here to break down UFC 325. And Pete, when we talk about game theory here, there are some fighters I look at that I go, you know what? Really like them. Hate the price I got to pay to get to them. I mean, they're, Salkillo is one of them at 9.7K. It's like, man, I really love him in this one, but it's a great price point to pay. You look at the main event, I think it's going to be hard to not get to either side or even both those sides, depending on the amount of lineups that you like to play there. I look at the heavyweight fight between Tuivasa and Teixeira. I don't think I trust either one of them, but I feel like good probability is the winner of that fight is going to be optimal. And so I know I can't avoid that. I look at some underdogs. There's some underdogs this week that I will tell you, don't mind getting to. A Dan Hooker, he's a slight underdog price at AK on DraftKings, and Rafael Fiziev, he's someone that sticks out to me. And the other two underdogs that are intriguing to me on this card is Torres Finney and Oban Elliott.
Yeah, immediately without looking at the lines, we're looking at who I would think would win the fight, and then comparing it to the betting odds. I was surprised to see 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿𝐼ott as an underdog, truthfully, because he's been a pretty massive favorite in the past and one that had a ton of hype surrounding him, right? Like he was very, very good, and then he was most recently exposed against 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐶, where he just absolutely got manhandled in the judo and grappling department and was completely dominated. But up until that point, he was 3-0 in UFC. And then the other fighter that I wasn't surprised to see him as a slight underdog, but just knowing his style and knowing what DraftKings, knowing the scoring system, 𝗀𝗏𝘁𝘀, I was just immediately like attracted to because of the salary and because I know he's got tons of takedowns, good ground control. And for the most part, Malkoun's going to want to, close the distance and incorporate his grappling. So we'll have to see who's the better grappler in that situation. I do think the wrestling is a little bit in the favor of 𝗀𝗏𝘁𝘀, but yeah, it was more of a price tag that kind of interested me. And then the main event, I think, is very interesting because it's a rematch, of course. One that may not be like deserved, if you will, because there are plenty of talented fighters from Lerone Murphy to Movsar Evloev who are getting hosed and not getting the opportunity, despite they're not exciting. And who's the most exciting fighter that just recently won? Well, it is Diego Lopes, and the UFC does love Diego Lopes, so they gave him the rematch because of his performance against Jean Silva. So yeah, I was just interested to see that when he fought Volkanovski, he was 8,000. Now he's sitting at 7,700. Volkanovski was 8,200 and is now priced at 8,500. So rematches aren't typically the exact same type of fight, but if Volkanovski can stretch you out for 25 minutes, he's better than almost anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fascinating matchup. Of course, as I mentioned, we do have the DraftKings contest. Link to that is in the description of the show. Of course, a great way to show your support for what we do here at Fight HQ. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get access to all of our content when it does drop, when we're live. If you want to watch us after the fact, also, we throw up some YouTube shorts of clips from the show as well. Of course, as always, be sure to hit a thumbs up on that video. Also, in the description of the show is a link to Pete's Patreon page. I know Pete's working on that extensively to get that out to everyone. Pete, let everyone know about your Patreon page.
Yeah, Patreon page just has a bunch of stats on it. It has my data projections as well. It gives you a nice glimpse as to possible paths to high scores, pace of fights, takedown attempts, all of that. So, I appreciate everybody that has been supporting me on the Patreon, and I should be able to post it later tonight. And I'll have it up, and people that have been using it, whether they like one column more than the other, it is beneficial, especially for me when I'm looking at like even betting. I just like to look at it and see like, all right, how do I think this fight's going to go?
And I always know when that's been updated because I get that email that says, Pete has put the update up there. So you know exactly when Pete has put that updated information out there on his Patreon, of course. Link to that is in the description of this show below. So let's get right into breaking this one down. Of course, the main event, a rematch for the featherweight title, as you got Alexander Volkanovski defending the title against Diego Lopes. Volkanovski priced at 8,500 on DK, 7,700 for Lopes on DK. Over on FanDuel, Volk is at $18, Lopes $14. Volk, the slight betting favorite here. He's minus 145, plus 115 for Diego Lopes, Pete.
Yeah, really tricky fight. And, this entire card, UFC 325, I view as pretty tricky. I think that Volkanovski, over 25 minutes, he's one of the best fighters to stretch a fight out strategically, land his shots, do his best at not getting hit, implement good clinches, good takedowns, and minimize damage as best as he can. But, he's aging, of course, and he's starting to get clipped a little bit more. Diego Lopes did have some success and was unable to capitalize. He can take some positives from that initial matchup and maybe look to add to it. I do worry about Volkanovski's chin to a point. I think this is a very, very close fight because I think that skill for skill, it's competitive, of course. I love the jiu-jitsu that Diego Lopes brings. I think the firepower that Lopes brings is extremely dangerous. And we've seen Volkanovski get knocked out by 𝗵𝗐 Topuria and Islam Makhachev, two of the greatest fighters ever. But that doesn't mean that, Diego Lopes can't shut off the lights of Alexander Volkanovski. He was unable to do so in their first fight, but perhaps he can look to build on some success inside some certain combinations. Volkanovski is very good at distance striking, using great feints and footwork to really just add up and add up stats throughout the rounds and edge people out ever so slightly. Just ask Max Holloway. I mean, very close fights. Volkanovski's very well rounded too, right? He can get takedowns when he needs it. His ground and pound is absolutely ferocious. I have tons of respect for both fighters between Volkanovski and Diego Lopes. I think it's a competitive fight, of course. I think that playing Volkanovski to win via decision is something that I've looked to do for most of his career. But Diego Lopes seems to be the more dangerous fighter in this particular matchup, whether it is with strong boxing combinations, maybe possibly knocking down Alexander Volkanovski, or looking to implement more of a grappling type of game plan. He could look to possibly submit Alexander Volkanovski. So I'm torn on the fight. I'm going to have split exposure for DFS, but I think I'll ever so slightly lean towards Diego Lopes in the rematch, mainly because of the price, because I still feel like, Diego Lopes, he's got youth on his side. He's got momentum too. He just fought Jean Silva, so he's had another fight besides fighting Volkanovski. And I think that he's getting the UFC push, right? Like the UFC clearly is giving him another opportunity. And a lot of times you're not given a title fight or a second title fight so quickly. So I'm going to just ever so slightly pick Diego Lopes. But of course, going back and looking on his regional tape, I do worry about him gassing out, but his cardio seemed to be fine in their first fight. I worry about him maybe succumbing to some vicious ground and pound from Alexander Volkanovski. But yeah, it's a really close fight. I'm just going to ever so slightly lean towards the underdog Diego Lopes, but I mean, it's really hard to doubt Volkanovski just from what he's done throughout his entire career.
One of the things that I always say is when we're talking about rematches, I fully believe the fighter who lost the first fight has an advantage going to the second fight because they understand what they did wrong and what they have to do better. And I think when you look at Diego's last fight against Jean Silva, I think we saw a little bit of difference, a little bit more putting, the foot on the gas pedal. And I think that's what he has to do here against Volkanovski. The question with Volk is we have not seen any evidence that would make me say Father Time is starting to approach, but he is 37 years old at 145 pounds. I mean, typically, you don't see a lot of fighters at this age succeed the way they do. The pick for me is going to be Diego Lopes. From a betting side of the equation, there's two plays I look at. One is Diego Lopes inside the distance at plus 210. I understand if maybe you want to go up to that plus 350 by TKO KO. My only concern would be maybe Diego Lopes drops Volkanovski, hops on his back, submit him. So in that aspect, I'd rather just play the plus 210. The Volkanovski, I think the Volk by decision from a betting side is where to go here at plus 195. I was looking at my book and they didn't happen to have it, but if your book has a Diego Lopes knockdown prop, I would be looking at that to see what it is. If you get some plus money on over, say it's over, half knockdown. My book does have a Volkanovski takedown prop of over 1.5 takedowns. It's plus 105. I don't mind that either.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, Jason's sharp. He is sharp as attack, and he's not just the host. And my guy knows a ton about MMA, and a lot of times when I'm struggling on a card or I want to hear somebody out that I respect highly, I listen to Jason because he brings in great insight, and sometimes I may be overlooking something, and if I'm so far off or so far from what Jason's seeing, why am I seeing that? Am I flawed in my approach or whatnot? And yes, we do split picks all the time. Like he's on one side, I'm on the other. But if I'm having a hard time with a card, which this card in particular, I don't have the most conviction about, I think this card for me is a very tricky card. I was telling Jason, this is one where I will manipulate my exposures significantly, leaning into the variance of the road to UFC fighters for DFS, just all on both sides, the A and the B side, just because I don't really have a damn clue as to what's going to happen for this international regional MMA.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about developing DFS lineups, in a cash game contest, I think it would be very difficult for me to get away from Volk just because of what the path is for him to get there. When I think about GPPs, I mean, I wouldn't go 100% on this fight, but I could very easily say 40% Volk, 40% Diego.
Yeah, I was going to say 80. Yeah, it makes sense.
You know, I mean, because the high probability is whoever wins this fight is going to be optimal.
Yeah, and I was thinking to myself, perhaps it could be a stack situation because if it went 25 minutes, but if it went 25 minutes, I think that just leans into Volk's game, right? Like I don't think that means that Lopes is having significant success. I mean, it could turn into a war, of course, like the 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝘀. What did Paddy end up scoring last week? Was anything good?
He got 66.64.
That's crazy because that was one-way traffic for most of it. And credit to Jason for not really overlooking Justin Gaethje and saying that, you know, he was going to be a core play for him, especially in cash. I mean, what did Gaethje score?
144.45.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, you look at last week, Gaethje 144, Perez 129, Miller 124, Hulk at 123, Waldo 103. Those were the only fighters to get over 100 points last week.
I mean, you could have stacked that fight and still been okay. I mean, that's 200 points.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah.
Wow.
And my best lineup in the mini max actually had Paddy Pimblett in it.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, unfortunately, Arnold Allen did. If Arnold Allen would have come in through me, it probably would have been a much better day for me. Let's move over to the co-main event. That'll be Dan Hooker taking on Benoit Saint Denis. Saint Denis priced at $9,200 on DK. Hooker is at $7,000 on FanDuel. Saint Denis $20. Hooker is $9 on the betting lines. Saint Denis is -350, and Dan Hooker is +260. Pete.
Yeah, Dan Hooker's a tough guy, and I mean, like he's always live from an underdog standpoint because he's fighting BSD. He's not fighting Arman Tsarukyan. He's not fighting Islam Makhachev. Like, this is a winnable fight, but stylistically it's a difficult one. And the reason I'm saying that is because BSD is he really just pushes his pedal to the metal with instant pressure, very strong body kicks, which I actually think could land against Dan Hooker. And he's going to look to close the gap, I would think, and try to grapple Dan Hooker, because standing on the outside and having a kickboxing matchup with Dan Hooker, you're live to get front kick to the body, knee up the middle, hit with a nice left hook, chopped away, and kind of beaten up for 15 minutes. I mean, Dan Hooker has very, very good striking to him. He is a talented grappler, and like, he goes to his submission skills a little too much instead of, defending the takedowns. I don't want to see him jumping for guillotines in this matchup against BSD. I mean, if he hurts BSD, that's one thing, but we've seen BSD get hurt, yes, but also deal with people who are jumping guillotine on him. And I just think, like, stylistically, Hooker needs to use his length, look to keep BSD away from him, try to outpoint him, and maybe stretch this out, because in round one, BSD is an absolute monster, whereas Hooker should get stronger as the fight goes on, as long as he's not in a compromising position. But I think that BSD hits really damn hard, and he chains that together with good takedowns, good ground and pound, but very strong submission skill set. And I can see this fight ending inside the distance at a very high clip, because I just see chaos. I see Hooker looking to land counter shots while BSD closes the distance, possibly looking to snatch up the neck of BSD. I mean, Hooker has grappling talent, The issue is like, I don't want him being on his back or attempting stuff from bottom. I much would rather him look to reverse position, possibly put BSD on his back after a failed takedown attempt, and then, utilize some good ground and pound. But I think it's going to be very difficult to do so because of just the frame and the strength of Benoit Saint-Denis. I'll be picking Benoit Saint-Denis here, just because I think that he's got the skills and the style to pose problems to Dan Hooker, who we've seen get taken down and make a fight out of it. But what BSD brings to the table is good ground and pound and very dangerous submissions as well. So for GPPs, I won't X out Dan Hooker. And it all comes down to what type of fight BSD comes in here. Like, I will be picking Benoit Saint-Denis, but this is one where Dan Hooker is always live and he's fought good wrestlers in the past. I just think that BSD is a little bit more dangerous than what he's gone up against in the past for grapplers.
The one thing I will say about this matchup that I think a potential concern for me on the Benoit Saint-Denis side is, he's working so hard to get these takedowns. He finally gets Hooker down, and let's just say it's, second round, third round. Hooker's able to reverse positions, and he starts raining down elbows. For some reason, I've been having this vision about, okay, what does a Dan Hooker win look like? Is it, okay, A, he just stops the takedowns and he keeps this thing on the feet? Or B, he reverse position, he lands some of these elbows. I believe more times than not, Benoit Saint-Denis is going to win this fight. That's why he's going to be my pick in here. At the betting side, Benoit Saint-Denis wins via submission plus 145. I don't mind that. On the Dan Hooker side, what sticks out to me is, man, plus 450 to win inside the distance.
Yeah, I don't see this fight going 15 minutes. So one way or another, I think somebody's getting a finish.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of the things that I kind of look at in terms of this one. Saint Denis is going to pick, but when I'm thinking about looking at, that punt play range, Dan Hooker's a guy I do not mind getting to at 7,000, especially if you're looking to get to, we only have 9,000 fighters this week, but, especially if you're looking to get to Quillan at 9.7, that may be a route you want to go there. Next up, we move over. We got Rafael Fiziev taking on Mauricio Ruffy. Ruffy is a price at 8,200 on DK, 8,000 on 8,000 for Fiziev. Over on FanDuel, it's 16 for Mauricio and $14 for Rafael, who's a plus 100 betting underdog, minus 125 for Mauricio, who has done a majority of his camp in Australia with Team Volk. He did an interview with 𝗟𝐢𝐻𝐻 where he kind of didn't really say, I've left the Fighting Nerds, but if you kind of read between T lines, it doesn't look like he's a member of the Fighting Nerds anymore.
Yeah, I don't really know what to take from that. It's a little interesting, right? I mean, one shot Mauricio Ruffy is very talented. I mean, people were drawing parallels to him and Conor McGregor with the timing. I mean, his timing is phenomenal. So no matter where he's training, I know that he just possesses some unique skills to himself. Perhaps his cardio didn't feel great last time when he fought Benoit Saint-Denis. Perhaps it was his takedown defense in camp that wasn't tested enough. I don't know the ins and outs or the reasons behind it, but I will tell you that this stylistically is a matchup that a striker would like, because he's going up against another striker who's willing to stand and trade with him. And opposite of him is Rafael Fiziev, and Rafael Fiziev is a extremely high-level kickboxer, former coach at Tiger Muay Thai. If not, he still is. I mean, I've been a fan of Rafael Fiziev for a very, very long time. I remember when he broke into the UFC, Jason and I was hyping this guy up because I've been watching so much Tiger Muay Thai. You remember that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was watching so much Tiger Muay Thai all the time. And I was like, dude, Jason, this guy is unreal with his striking. I mean, his switch kick is fantastic. But in his debut, he was knocked out. And he was knocked out with a strike that kind of is similar to like a Mauricio Ruffy style. And it was a spinning back kick with follow-up punches from Magomed Mustafayev. And Mustafayev was he was like not a one-trick pony, but he has a very, very dangerous spinning kick. And he landed it one time, which was a little bit off to the side. And then he went back to the well and he caught Rafael Fiziev with it. And Rafael Fiziev is definitely going to be the cleaner striker of the two here. Whereas in a Muay Thai kickboxing fight, I'm picking Rafael Fiziev to beat Mauricio Ruffy. I really am. In a wrestling match, I'm picking Rafael Fiziev to beat Mauricio Ruffy. But what I will say is that the trickiness, the unique striking, and the timing of Mauricio Ruffy is he could be losing minutes, and then he'll land that one shot over the top, a look away hook, a spin kick, a wheel kick, a spinning elbow, just a variety. And he's so unpredictable that I think his unpredictability can be an issue for Rafael Fiziev, where it's like there's, clean lines for most strikers that are high level where you can see what they're doing. It's not that they're telegraphing, but they are so clean and technical that you can somewhat anticipate certain things. But with Mauricio Ruffy, he doesn't even know what the hell he's doing. He's so damn unpredictable, and he's going based on feel and very, very good counter shots. I feel like we're going to be opposite on this one. I love Rafael Fiziev. I think that he's a phenomenal talent. I mean, he took Justin Gaethje to a decision and then had an injury, and then first fight back from an injury, fights Justin Gaethje again. And then he follows that up with a victory over Ignacio Bahamondes. So, I mean, Fiziev has lost to the current interim champ twice, and he looked good in both fights. So the strength of schedule clearly favors Rafael Fiziev. The unknowns of the Mauricio Ruffy side of switching camps, not looking the best, looking humanized in that Benoit Saint-Denis fight. Benoit Saint-Denis is a guy, he's like a Terminator, where if you don't put his lights out, you better be ready for hell for 15 minutes because he's going to grapple you, he's going to take you down, elbow you, look to punish you, and submit you. And that's exactly what happened in that fight. So he didn't allow Mauricio Ruffy to have space. And within space, open space, one shot Mauricio Ruffy is very dangerous. And I'm torn, man. I really am torn. I think I'm going to pick... It's going to be slight lean to Mauricio Ruffy because I think that he'll land a strike or two that Rafael Fiziev doesn't see coming, and he'll end up hurting him and possibly putting him out. But the better minute winner clearly will be Rafael Fiziev because he's going to throw more volume. He's got a great switch kick. He has good defensive tendencies as well. I just think, like I said, the unpredictability and the timing of Mauricio Ruffy is why I'm going to be slightly picking him here. But I mean, I have no conviction here. I honestly could be swayed either way. And for DFS lineups, I'm going to have split exposure. So this is not a confident pick by any means. This is one where I kick my feet up. I have some popcorn, and I just enjoy the unbelievable striking exchanges that we're going to see here. So I'll lean towards Mauricio Ruffy.
From a DFS perspective, I don't know if this fight will score the greatest, but the price point is what kind of sticks out to me. The 8,200, 8,000. I think this thing goes 15 minutes. The question is, could Rafael Fiziev look at some previous tape of Mauricio and go, I think the take's down there. And all of a sudden, maybe he racks up some points in the last minutes of these rounds with some takedown attempts. That's what kind of sticks to me. From a betting perspective, I'm going to tell you, I will have a bet on the money line on Rafael Fiziev at plus 100. I haven't made the bet yet. I was maybe kind of hoping there'd be some money coming in on the other side. Maybe I get a little bit of a better number here, but I think if you're attacking this fight, I think you really got to look at these decision props. Plus 180 for Rafael, plus 260 for Mauricio. That's where I look at. But for me, the straight up fight pick is going to be with Fiziev in this spot. I think he gets the job done. And I don't know if you've seen the pictures of him this week, Pete. He's definitely been in the gym.
Oh yeah, I love him. He's excellent.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you've noticed here. I want to mention this one comment before we move on to the next matchup here. This coming in from Corey says, this looks like a great card with a lot of finishing upside. Here's the reason I wanted to bring that comment up. Because we learned last week that now Fight night bonuses are 100K. About time they freaking raise these fight night bonuses. They've been like this for like 20 years. But also, if you get a finish, it's a $25,000 bonus. So we might see fighters maybe going for that finish a little bit more than maybe, I don't know if it influenced Nikita Krylov, if not, but he was definitely going to win that fight. He goes out there and gets a finish with 3 seconds left in that matchup. Next up, we got a heavyweight matchup of Tuivasa and Tallison Teixeira. Teixeira is priced at 9,100 DK. $20 on FanDuel for Tuivasa. Price is 7,100 DK, $10 on FanDuel. Tuivasa, a plus 240 betting underdog, minus 320 for Teixeira. Pete, what's your thoughts, man?
So this fight, right? Like, granted, anytime that we do prediction videos, hindsight's 2020, and when you get a pick wrong, you look like an idiot. It just is what it is. But if you are correctly betting on fights, you should be looking at both sides to how people can win. So hedging in a sense, placing large units on things that you have conviction with, DFS, not playing like how I used to, where just completely locking somebody in and like having exposures and capping exposure and boosting people based on their ROI, all of that stuff. I'll tell you what, man, I feel pretty damn confident in this fight. So of all the fights, you know what that means. I mean, major red flag, because sometimes when I feel really confident, it doesn't turn out. But man, like, how can I be confident that Tuivasa is going to win a fight? I really don't know, especially when I've seen the body transformation. Granted, he is a heavyweight, right? He is a heavyweight, but he's a guy that's gotten involved with business outside of MMA. It's not like he opened an MMA gym and he's living and breathing MMA all the time. I mean, between breweries and dispensaries or whatever the hell he's got going on, he's on a 5-fight losing streak. And I don't like seeing a guy look like he's a super, super heavyweight to now get into shape to make the heavyweight limit, coming off of a finish loss to Ciryl Gane, finish loss to Sergey Pavlovich, finish loss to Volkov, finish loss to Tybura, and a split decision to Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Do you remember when Tuivasa was struggling in the UFC, and I said the best fight for him is Jairzinho Rozenstruik, because they're going to go out there and they're going to have a kickboxing matchup. And I thought that was a possible fight for Tuivasa to kind of turn the tide within his career. I think he's got dynamite in his hands. He's a tough son of a bitch. But, like, technically, defensively, he's flawed. He'll get hit with a ton of shots. Not to mention, if anybody has any wrestling or grappling, he is a fish out of water if it hits the mat and his back is on the mat. And I say all that to say this. Tallison Teixeira getting thrown to the wolves, fighting Derek Lewis, getting finished against the cage while he was trying to stand back up, but using the cage to pull himself up. Okay, like, he was hurt, absolutely. Think whatever you think about that stoppage, whether it should have gone a little bit more or it was justified. But going from Justin Tafa, who he absolutely obliterated with elbows and knees, to Derek Lewis is a significant jump. Despite Derek Lewis not looking the best last week, that's Waldo Cortez Acosta who dismantled him. Not a guy in his second fight to face Derek Lewis. And I'll tell you what, man, Tallison Teixeira is 6'7". He's facing Tuivasa, who I've already talked about the distractions outside of MMA. 83-inch reach to 75-inch reach of Tuivasa. Tallison should be able to keep him away from him with long, straight shots, not resort to his leaning back tall man defense, which will end up getting him caught on the exit with a big leaping hook. Not to mention, Tallison Teixeira hits like a truck, is very aggressive, and has grappling skills that significantly outweigh anything Tuivasa has. So to me, this is a get-right spot for him, and it should be a win. But in heavyweight division, when you plant the flag on a fighter, you are like, you're playing with fire, right? Like, you really got to be careful, because one shot, next thing you know, Tallison Teixeira is on his ass getting knocked out by a guy who is on a 5-fight losing streak, who's fighting in his home in his home country looking to put on a show and right the wrong. So, I mean, the crowd's going to be behind Tai Tuivasa. I don't know, Jason, man. I can see why people are hesitant to pick Tallison Teixeira, but I think I'm a little bit more confident than the public. I'm going to be picking Tallison Teixeira here, and I think that he can win however he wants, via KO, via submission. I'll be looking to bet both of them, but I'm going to be picking Tallison Teixeira here, despite me wanting to see a 𝗚𝗲, despite me wanting to see Tai Tuivasa go out there and be electric with the crowd. But, I mean, 1 + 1 is 2, and I'm seeing a lot of things that are red flags to me for Tai Tuivasa. So give me Tallison Teixeira.
Tai Tuivasa is a guy we all would love to see succeed, but we understand the skill limitations that are there on Tai Tuivasa. I mean, one of the things that, as I think about this fight, if you tell me Tai Tuivasa wins this matchup, is we see him come out extremely aggressive and basically tries to get Tallison Teixeira on his back legs early on, like we saw what Derek Lewis did. You know, the time off, it kind of makes you wonder, good, bad thing for Tai Tuivasa. You know, as much as I would love to see Tai Tuivasa win this fight, get on top of that cage and do a _𝗚𝗲, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Teixeira gets a win. You mentioned about that Teixeira submission prop, 10-1.
Yeah, I think that's great value. And even if you put a quarter unit on it or whatnot, I mean, literally, it will not be competitive if it hits the mat. Tallison Teixeira has jiu-jitsu skills about him, and whether he ground and pounds him or goes for the submission, you know, like the read is correct. But I like him inside the distance here.
Yeah, and you know, it wouldn't surprise me if Teixeira, but I just look at this fight and I don't have a lot of faith in either guy. And so I think whether you click either one of these fighters when you're developing your lineups, you're probably going to sit there and go, well, this is either 100 points or it's 5.
Yeah, I mean, but like Teixeira could literally march out there, blitz him within a minute, and the fight's over too, right? Like that's another way too. So, and it's heavyweight, which you know the finish likelihood is high. Yeah, I mean, every now and then I'm correct on some of these like flag plants, and this is one where I initially just was like, imagine that's your first fight back. First fight back, you've been super heavyweight on a 5-fight losing streak, and they throw you the guy Tallison Teixeira, which they expected to beat Derek Lewis in his second only UFC fight.
Yeah. No, you're spot on there. It'll be interesting to see what happens in terms of that one. Next up, we've got our biggest favorite on the card, who's priced at $9,700 over on DraftKings. Quillan Salkillo taking on Jamie Mullarkey. Salkillo priced at $9,700 on DraftKings, $23 on FanDuel. Mullarkey $6,500 DK, $7 on FanDuel. Quillan a 9-1 betting favorite here, plus 600 for Jamie Mullarkey. Pete.
Yeah, I mean, I love Quillan Salkillo here. I mean, yes, he was getting outboxed against 𝗄𝗏𝘁𝑚 𝗏𝗏, but 𝗄𝗏𝘁𝑚 has hands. 𝗄𝗏𝘁𝑚 is fast. 𝗄𝗏𝘁𝑚 has great combinations and good fight IQ with a good team behind him. And guess what? He ended up just head kicking 𝗄𝗏𝘏𝗏. He's a guy that outworked Ionel Ashmouz, who has big power, also has wrestling. He knocked out Anshul Jubilee. I mean, that shouldn't even have happened. That was such a mismatch. This is the same guy that put on a performance on the Contender Series against Gage Young. I mean, Quillan Salkillo fights with a tremendous pace, and he's meeting another fighter who fights with tremendous pace, and that's Jamie Mullarkey. The issue with Mullarkey is that his chin doesn't hold up. I mean, skill for skill, he has good boxing, and he has really good wrestling, but his chin is high in the sky, and when he gets clipped, he gets dropped or he gets hurt. Good cardio for Mullarkey. He is a dog. So if you do not put his lights out or you don't have anything that he respects, he can work his way into a decision victory. The issue is he tends to exchange a little too much for my liking. And, man, when you look at how Mullarkey has lost, I mean, within his past 5 fights, he's been knocked out 3 times. Muhammad Naimov with a right hook, 𝗄𝗏𝘁𝑚 𝗏𝗏, and Mauricio Huffy. So, yes, he did beat John McDessie. He outworked him. Rolando Bedoya has no pop. But Quillan Salkillo should have him covered here. He should be the better wrestler of the two, the better grappler of the two. Doesn't mean he won't get taken down by Mullarkey. And if I was in Mullarkey's camp, that's exactly what I'd be looking to do. Take the power out of Quillan by surviving round 1. look to grapple and exchange, dirty box. Do not throw long combinations where you could get countered, and look to set up your takedowns, because if this is a grappling match, then he's completely live to make it competitive. But I think that he'll get outworked in the grappling because Quillan's a good grappler. I think he's has a step ahead everywhere, to be honest. So I think that the huge favorite odds are justified, and it's just a matter of if you have enough salary to spend up for Quillan Salkillo, because he should win this fight 9 out of 10 times. I mean, priced at 9,700. I would be very shocked to see him lose to Jamie Mullarkey. So yeah, it's Salkillo for me.
Yeah, it's going to be Salkillo for me as well. In a cash game contest, I think I would just start my lineup with him. GPP, it gets difficult when you talk about that 9,700 price tag, and you look at the betting side. I mean, minus 375 inside the distance, minus 130 𝗃𝐬𝐬𝐜. I mean, I would probably just play the 𝗃𝐬𝐬𝐜 prop there. If you tell me Mullarkey goes out there and somehow pulls this thing off, plus 2,000 win via decision. I mean, if you're just looking to, maybe put like a, quarter unit on something that you're like, hey, it may not come through, but man, if it does, it's a nice payday. But yeah, Salkillo is who would definitely have seeing this one down. Of course, you listen to the Fight HQ podcast, breaking down UFC 325. Of course, great way to show your support for what me and Pete do here. Hit that subscribe button as you get access to all of our videos here on YouTube. Also, we do throw up some YouTube shorts, give you a little taste of some of the things that we talk about during the show. Next up, we got Junior Tafa taking on Billy Elekana. Elekana priced at 8,900 DK, $19 on FanDuel. Tafa priced at 7,300 DK. $10 on FanDuel. Billy comes in here as a minus 240 betting favorite and plus 190 for Junior Tafa, Pete.
Yeah, so I mean, this fight's interesting, right? I mean, light heavyweight fighters. I think the more well-rounded athlete is Billy Elekana. He's able to strike, but he also has the grappling in his back pocket. He only has 2 submission wins, but if you look and you watch some regional tape on him, I mean, he's able to incorporate takedowns, look to win via submission. I mean, he ended up winning this most recent fight in the UFC via rear naked choke. But yeah, I think like anytime Tafa fights, you know what to expect. Tafa's a pretty damn good kickboxer, and he is live to win via decision if a fight is on the feet for 15 minutes. He's also live to hurt you and possibly knock you out on the feet for 15 minutes or within that 15 minutes. But if you're able to incorporate wrestling and grappling, I mean, I think that the gap in skill will be pretty evident if Billy gets Tafa down, because what you saw from Tafa in his most recent fight was getting taken down 5 times to 𝗃𝗀𝘃 and getting submitted in the second round via arm triangle. He's also been taken down, granted it was in the heavyweight division, by Walter Walker, 2 takedowns and submitted pretty quickly. Taken down by Muhammad Usman and Marcos Rogério de Lima. So, I mean, like Tafa dabbling in the heavyweight division and coming back to the 205 division, he's facing higher skilled fighters in the light heavyweight division. But he also has experience facing big powerhouse guys that outweighed him and outmuscled him. So I do think that this fight's a little interesting just because they both, Tafa has 10 MMA fights, whereas Elekana has 11. It's not a tremendous gap in experience for one or the other. And I just would worry about people having too much conviction for Billy Elekana's ground game, because at times he's shown to outstrike his opponents with low volume and not go to the takedowns as early or as often as you would think. I mean, if you look in the UFC, he's averaging 0.55 takedowns landed per 15 minutes with 25% accuracy. So if Tafa is able to keep this fight upright and on the feet, it could make things very, very interesting. And they're really similar in height and stature. And I just think that Tafa is very good on the feet, but poor on the ground. But if Elekana never looks to take the fight to the ground or doesn't go to that well too often, then this is a competitive fight, one where like you'd be like, oh man, I wish I didn't have all this conviction behind Billy Elekana, who is relatively unproven by beating Aslan with only 44 fantasy points, most recently beating Christian, which was a very quick win and ended up scoring 107. But I would just say, just tread lightly, be careful. I'm going to be picking Billy Elekana because of the grappling skill set, because I do think that he could have success with it, whether to find a submission or to win rounds. But I would just be very careful. I wouldn't lock him in because Tafa has had way more UFC experience. So the pick is Billy Elekana, but I do think that the odds are a little too wide for my liking.
I mean, look, I've never been, whether you're talking about either Tafa brother, never really big in them in terms of talking about MMA with what their skills are. And, I'm, more times than not, you tell me, do I want to pick the guy that thinks one dimensional, or do I want to pick the guy that's just has more tools in the toolbox? And that's why, to me, the pick is going to be Billy in this matchup. And looking at the betting side, the plus 190 wins via submission definitely is one that does stick out to me. But I think if you're looking to bet this fight, I'd probably just play it safe and do the Billy inside the distance at minus 120. You could chase some money there, but I would probably just do the inside the distance in terms of that one. Next up, we got Cam Rowston taking on Cody Brundage. Cam priced at $9,300 DK, $21 on FanDuel. Brundage priced at $600 DK, $9 on FanDuel. Cam comes in here as a minus 350 betting favorite, minus 260 for Cody Brundage, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, anytime Cody Brundage fights, right? Like you have to be careful, because I don't know if I want to roster this fight too often, just because of history. I mean, the history of fouls within his fights, the history of no contests, point deductions, getting hurt and finished early. So you just got to be very careful, right? This is one where I would probably be looking to see if my sportsbook has, well, they got a point deduction right here. Will a point be deducted in this fight? I'm going to place it right now. I'm placing it right now. It's plus 2,000. It is yes. I'm placing it right now. Even $9. Say I put $9, and I have like OCD, because if like something in my sports book doesn't end with a 0 or 5, I have to place it on something. So $9 would win me $190. That is ridiculous for what could possibly happen, and it's happened time and time again in Cody Brundage fights. I like the kid. I think that his wrestling's good. I think that he has a very, very good right hand. I think he's been fed to the wolves, and he has shown some growth within himself where he will continue to fight. He will push past previous stuff where he would quit. And I like Cody Brundage. I just can't trust rostering him in a lot of lineups unless I think it's a favorable one. And this is one where, like, Cam Rowston, I think, hits really damn hard, and Cody shells up when he gets hit sometimes and is live to get knocked out. But how I'm expecting this to happen is Cody may get a takedown and may get put in a compromising jiu-jitsu situation where Rowston's grappling skills are on display. And Rowston is a very, very talented grappler and good jiu-jitsu practitioner, where that's basically what he made most of his career out of, is utilizing those grappling skills. So via submission for Cam Rowston sits at plus 200. Via KO for Cam Rowston sits at plus 150. And I think that's largely due to Brundage's history within the UFC. I think Rowston has shown he's dangerous. He's dangerous everywhere. And as long as he doesn't try to play jiu-jitsu off of his back too often, I think that he can win this fight pretty easily. So, yeah, I mean, I know that you like Cody. I like Cody. I feel bad for him too, right? Because, like, maybe some of the stuff wasn't intentional on his behalf. But, I mean, like, I've seen so many now that I just can't trust rostering him or having a lot of money involved in any time that he fights. So I'm picking Cam Rowston here.
I like Cody personally, but I would just say this: if your book does offer fight ends via DQ,
you're right.
Half unit. I mean, it's just. I mean, look, we've seen with Cody. you see the path to victory for him. But then sometimes we've seen in multiple fights, just bad decision making of doing what you do out there. I mean, I can't roster him, and then, but you also feel like, hey, if something happens, is Cam going to lose a fight and it's going to be a no contest or a DQ? I mean, that to me is a concern with it, but the pick is going to be Cam in this one. And I would say this, I don't know if I don't mind Cam wins via decision at plus 650. If I'm looking for a nice line. I mean, obviously the minus 190 inside distance does stick out to me, but yeah, Cam's got to be the pick in this one. I just can't trust Cody just because of what we've seen happen inside the UFC octagon. By the way, Sam, I do appreciate your super chat. I'll get to your questions when we get towards the end of the show. Next up, we got Jacob Malkoun taking on Torres Finney. Malkoun priced at $8,600 DK, $17 on FanDuel. Finney is priced at $7,600 DK, $12 on FanDuel. He's a plus 125 betting underdog, while on the other side with Malkoun, he is minus 150 beat.
Yeah, so, I mean, you guys know, if you've been following the show for a very long time, Jacob Malkoun has been a guy that I have loved rostering in the past, constantly overlooked. People think that he just sucks for whatever reason. And if you go and you look at his takedowns, man, and you go back and you look at that Brendan Allen fight, which is almost 4 years ago, 3 years and 7 months, you'll see him utilizing great takedowns and getting Brendan Allen in compromising situations. And what Malkoun does is he snatches up a head outside single and he steps behind the base leg and trips. So he doesn't even really run the pipe that much. It's just he uses that single to step behind and kind of dumps him over that base leg. So yeah, I think that Malkoun has that like one trick about him, and he gets everybody with it. And he's very, very good at it. And he's able to stick to people like glue, have suffocating grappling, but he's not a finisher. So when you look and you see him knocking out Andre Petroski collided his head against his hip or his cup. I am unsure which it was, but he ended up getting knocked out because of the collision. He was putting work on Cody Brundage, but it ended up being disqualified due to an illegal elbow to the back of the head. Had a 15-minute decision victory over Maximov, lost to Brendan Allen, which Brendan Allen gets put in compromising situations, but is very good at getting out of them and reversing positions. And then he had a 15-minute decision over AJ Dobson. I say all of that to say he's not a finisher. So like Malkoun, people thinking that Malkoun's going to come in here and just like knock out Torres Finney. I don't see that happening. And I think that Torres Finney has the body type to make Malkoun's game struggle to a bit, because I think the person that's going to be initiating the grappling, for the most part, the wrestling, is going to be Torres Finney. He'll throw thunderous shots up top just to get you to respect his hands. He could knock out Malkoun because he does have some unsuspecting power, because he's a big guy and people are so worried about his takedowns. But I think the better wrestler here is Torres Finney. He's going to be able to outwork Malkoun. Malkoun has fought the who's who within this division to a point, more so than what Torres Finney has done. But Malkoun is coming off a major injury, and he's coming off of being out of the cage for over a year and 9 months ago, which was the Petroski fight. And now he's going up against a guy in Torres Finney who's a muscle shark, if you will, who's going to try to take you down, submit you, ground and pound you, or just outwork you over 15 minutes. Like Valentin can make things interesting because of his striking. I don't see Malkoun being able to do so with the striking. I'm going to think that there's value here for Torres Finney to end up pulling off this victory by just getting a ton of takedowns. But this is one where like Malkoun is very dangerous. Not dangerous. He's very good in the grappling. So if he's able to get back to his feet and make Finney work and put Finney in some compromising situations, this could just become a very interesting fight. I don't love a lot of underdogs flat out, but when I saw the price tag of Torres Finney for what he brings to the cage, I was just immediately kind of like intrigued. So I like the value on Torres Finney here at 7,600. I will lean with him, even though Malkoun is my guy.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about 𝗏𝗏 and, when you're looking for some value this week, he is someone that stuck out to me, especially because the potential of those takedowns that he could get there from a betting perspective, the line that really sticks out to me. I mean, look, don't mind the minus plus 125. I get that. That decision prop of plus 250 for 𝗏𝗏 is the one that really sticks out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be very surprised if either one of them finished each other.
Yeah.
I mean, just because I think if they put each other in bad grappling situations, they're both wise enough to survive submission wise. Not really both submission guys, but the ground and pound, I think that they'll just stay busy and move. And even if it gets somewhat close, I think that the decision props for either one of them makes a ton of sense.
No doubt about it. Next up, we got another underdog that I think is going to be very popular this week, that being 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿𝐼𝐴 taking on Jonathan Mulkeef here. Jonathan, 8,400, DK $16 on FanDuel. 𝗏𝗏, 7,800, DK $13 on FanDuel. He's a plus 110 betting underdog, minus 135 for Jonathan here, Pete.
Yeah, so this is the second underdog that I saw, and initially I was like, oh, interesting, because if you go back and you look at 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿𝐼𝐴, 9,300 against Val Woodburn, 8,800 against Basel Hafez. For whatever reason, was counted out against Preston Parsons. He was 7,600 against 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐳 in his most recent salary. He was 9,500, and that's when he got absolutely smoked. And he lost that fight. Now he's priced at 7,800, and I think name value. 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿𝐼AT possesses a name that we recognize, and we realize that he's a pretty good fighter. He has good hands. I would say he's slightly above average in all categories, right? And if you're not good enough in one department, he will cater his skill set or his game plan to look to expose that. I mean, against Val Woodburn, he took him down 3 times. Against Preston Parsons, he just was the better boxer, still landed the takedown. Against Basel Hafez, he ended up knocking him down and finishing him in the 3rd round. But very selective output. And I do find this matchup to be extremely tricky because I think that I think Jonathan Mulkeef can give some issues. He's a pretty long southpaw, so southpaw is initially going to give righty some problems. The rear body kick can be a problem against 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿𝐼AT because it is to the liver side. The head kick, the knee up the middle, the straight left hand is going to be the battle of the lead foot. And also, I just think we could see Mulkeef look to grapple because 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿𝐼AT most recently did not look good on the ground when his back was against the mat. So I think that Mulkeef is very interesting here just because he's still, for the most part, unknown. Yes, he was on Dana White's Contender Series. He ended up winning via triangle choke. Got a takedown, ended up winning via triangle choke, knocked down 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿. And I actually was very surprised because I thought that 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿, for the most part, this judo practitioner, good distance striking, I thought that he was solid. So Mulkeef coming out of nowhere and beating 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿 was a surprise to me. So I'm going to ever so slightly still reside with Jonathan Mulkeef here. But this is one where I expect 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿𝐼AT to have tremendous. I shouldn't say tremendous. I think that a lot of people are going to look to include him in their underdog pool just from name value alone, as you mentioned. But I'll be slightly leaning with Mulkeef. I think the southpaw weapons will be a little too much. But 𝗏𝗏 is a strategist, man. He should develop a good strategy for each fight. It's just a matter of whether he can execute or not.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's about the price point, saving a little bit of money. I know there was a comment earlier that was basically essentially saying that they just didn't love the price range from 8,400 to 7,800, just in terms of all the fighters that are in that range there. Next up is Khan Ofli taking on 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝘏, minus 210 betting favorite, plus 170 for Ofli, who's 7,400 DK, $11 on FanDuel. For the favorite, he's at 8,800 on DK and $18 on FanDuel, Pete.
Yeah, I think that 𝗍𝗏 is a guy for having 31 professional MMA fights. Granted, a lot of those international fights. Being 29 years old with that many fights is impressive to me. I really have to tell you that. So Khan Ofli, yes, he's a very good fighter in his own right. He's a physical specimen. He looks the part. He has some solid wrestling, some decent hands. Was able to submit Ricardo Ramos most recently, but I mean, what does that really tell you in 2026? Not much for me, because Ramos is one of the biggest flakes in the sport. But this is one where I think the speed of 𝗍𝗁 could give some problems to Con O'Flea, who is solid in the striking, solid in the wrestling, but I think he might be a step behind here to very quick 𝗍𝗁. We've seen Con O'Flea lose fights to Muhammad Naimov, which was low volume. Ended up getting knocked out against Myron Santos, which Myron Santos is a very tough out, 17-1 overall, but a guy that, I don't know, I view him as a 15-minute guy, despite having 53% of his wins via KO. It was surprising for that to happen. I mean, the submission skill set of Con O'Flea on The Ultimate Fighter, he guillotined an opponent, Rody Rhodes, ended up beating Nathan Fletcher, but Nathan Fletcher is a jiu-jitsu guy that really likes to, throw up submissions and attack submissions over position, where I think that 𝗍𝗁 will be more position-oriented. He'll be faster, and I like him quite a bit. He's only been finished one time via KO and one time via submission. So losing to Gabriel Santos is such a, I can't even hold it against them. I think Gabriel Santos is one of the best fighters within the division that will clearly start to rise up the ranks. And I think if Con O'Flea fought Gabriel Santos, I think Santos finishes him. So for 𝗍𝗁 to be able to survive that, get out muscle, get out worked, and then come back in a return fight and knock out Weston Wilson. Granted, it's Weston Wilson. I like what I'm seeing from 𝗍𝗁. I think he's just going to win I think he's going to win a decision here. But yeah, I've been pretty impressed with 𝗍𝗁 ever since we had to get some tape and look at the road to UFC fights. So yeah, I like 𝗍𝗁 here.
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of that pick as well. I mean, I think the best we saw of Con O'Flea was on The Ultimate Fighter, and just hasn't been able to escalate his game. Then our last three fights are all road to the UFC fights. You got Kim. The first one would be Kim taking on Fan. Price at $8,700 DK, $17 on FanDuel. Kim, $7,500 DK, $12 on FanDuel. He's a plus 120 betting underdog, where the favorite comes here at minus 150, Pete.
Yeah, let me preface this by saying I don't have a ton of confidence in any of these road to UFC fights. The way that I'm going to be utilizing the data and looking for on Stochastic with the Sims is I'm going to be looking to increase exposure to both sides. Going to embrace the volatility and the variance within these road to UFC fights, because I don't really know what to expect, and there are too many intangibles for me to have a flag plant. But I will say that 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝘀 is a guy that looks to take down a lot of his opponents. Lands 2.5 takedowns per 15 minutes with 62% accuracy. But he has been taken down in his own right. Was taken down 4 times in his most recent fight against Jae-Hyun Park, and based on how that goes, 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝘀's takedown defense sits at 20%. Sangwook Kim on the opposite side is priced at $7,500, so he's priced as a decent sized underdog. Has been taken down in the past, but his takedown defense sits at 71%. And he can land takedowns in his own right with 2.1 takedowns per 15 minutes, 29% accuracy. So a little bit more urgency in the takedown department if he needs to, and a little bit more volume from Sangwook Kim in the striking department. 5.35 strikes landed per minute for Kim, 2.27 for 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝘀. I was surprised to see the gap and the wide odds and wide salaries, because 8,700 for Fan. Okay. When I watched the weigh-ins, I was looking at Sangwook Kim, and he looks to be in fantastic shape. He looks to have taken this seriously. He looks to be a very fit individual, and I just don't view this fight as being this wide. I think that he can hit pretty damn hard. He can wrestle. On UFC stats, he has 4 fights under the belt, whereas 𝗲𝗲𝘁𝘀 has 2. And in those 4 fights of Sangwook Kim, he did fight Rongzhu, and we know how good Rongzhu is, right?
Mhm.
Rongzhu is pretty damn talented, and he took him 15 minutes, and he took Rongzhu down twice. Granted, he didn't have a ton of control time, but he attempted 10 takedowns in that fight against Rongzhu, who is very, very dangerous. I mean, Rongzhu is the same guy that's beaten Cody Steele, Austin Hubbard, and only losing to 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗀. So I think I'm going to go Sangwook Kim here. It's just a slight lean towards him. I think that the value's on his side. I don't really understand why Fan is priced at 8,700. Perhaps thinking that he's the better grappler, but he doesn't look to be the more physical of the two. And I just think that the better overall game of Sangwook Kim, Frogman, should be enough to make this closer than what the odds suggest. So I'll lean with the value here in Sangwook Kim.
Yeah, I don't mind going with the value here as well. I mean, I like what you said there, especially about the price point in terms of Fan being the favorite here at price at 8,700 on DK. Next up, we got Sebastian taking on Nakamura. These both are 8,100 on DraftKings. Sebastian, $15 on FanDuel, minus 130 betting favorite. And for Nakamura, he's priced at $13 on FanDuel and a plus 105 betting underdog, Pete.
Yeah, this fight to me is very difficult, and it's priced that way, 8,100, 8,100. I mean, Sebastian Saleh is a guy that has a better striking differential between the two. But if you look at Keiichiro Nakamura, he's a southpaw, will be the larger framed fighter, and he tends to land slightly more strikes on the outside than Sebastian Saleh. I can see this fight being a back and forth contest. If you go back and you look at regional footage of Sebastian Saleh, you'll notice that like he was taken down twice against 𝗵𝗫𝗁𝗀, 2 of 13 attempts, attempted 4 takedowns in his own right to no avail. Keiichiro Nakamura was his opponent, Yeojin Park, attempted 6 takedowns to no avail. And most recently against Quillan. Quillan tried to take him down 12 times, landed 3 of them, didn't really have much control time. This seems very, very even to me, and the odds are clearly saying that. And same with the salaries, both priced at 8,100. We don't see that far too often. I believe I was looking at the record of Sebastian Saleh, and I was a little intrigued. And I mean, he's 10-1 overall. Keiichiro Nakamura 7-1. When I watched them both at the weigh-ins, I didn't really notice anything significant. But I don't know, man. I think I'm going to slightly. This is probably my least favorite fight on the card, because I can see this being a back and forth contest, one that I don't have a ton of conviction in. I mean, I think that Nakamura, having most of his wins via KO, TKO, 86% of his wins, not being stretched out that much, whereas Sebastian Saleh having 70% of his wins via decision, means to me that Saleh is probably the better fighter over 15 minutes. Like I said, not much conviction on this fight, but I think I'm going to slightly lean towards Sebastian Saleh winning a boring decision. And yeah, I mean, I will tap into both sides for DFS, but for betting, I will probably turn elsewhere instead of having my money attached to this.
And I think for these road to UFC fights could be potentially a little bit of a leverage on the field here, just because of how many people may or may not be familiar with either one of these firearms. But yeah, I'm with you on the fight pick there. Then our opening fight of the night features one of our 9,000 fighters, Su Lingbro at 9,000, taking on Lawrence Liu at 7,200, who's $10 on FanDuel, plus 195 betting underdog. For the favorite here, he is $19 on FanDuel and a minus 250 betting favorite.
Yeah, so this is one where like Su Lingbro is so damn young. I mean, he's 20 years old. I mean, that's ridiculous. And I remember, forget who it was, Jason, but I think it was like the Pereira chick or whatever, where she was like 19 or something. And I remember that day happened, and I was like, Jason, from now on, I am never picking any 19, 20-year-old, 21-year-old kids that just like haven't had a big moment yet. that are just like too young for this stuff, too young to go out there and have immediate success. I mean, Lawrence Louis, his opponent, was born in 96 compared to Sulang Rambo, who was born in 2005. So already that's a little bit of a red flag seeing somebody that young getting a shot, but it is road to UFC going up against each other. It's not like Sulang Rambo is fighting a UFC vet, if you will. So if you look to see what Lawrence Louis possesses, he is definitely the more physical of the two. If you look at the weigh-ins, and he possesses takedowns in his back pocket. I mean, in his first fight in the road to UFC, he landed 6 takedowns against Zhang Qingyue, attempted 12 takedowns, landed 6, had 7 minutes of control time. And that's a great strategy to look to implement against Sulang Rainbow. Just pin the smaller, faster, weaker fighter against the cage, or put them on their back where they're not dangerous. I mean, in Lawrence Louis' most recent fight against Nguyen Vian, that was a struggle. He attempted 5 takedowns, didn't pick up any of them, only had 1 minute of control time. He needs to close the space, close the gap against Sulang Rainbow, because Sulang Rainbow is very, very tough, very fast. And he has back-to-back knockdowns against Peter Donossi and Sim-Kei Zhang in both of his road to UFC fights. In the one against Peter Donossi, he was able to finish him in round 1, 348 in round 1. Just great elusive, like very elusive, great footwork, good in and out movement, long shots, and just the speed of Sulang Rainbow gives a lot of fighters issues. I cannot sit there and plant the flag and say Sulang Rainbow is going to win this fight just because he's faster and has better hands than Lawrence Louis. Because what happens if Louis gets past those hands? What happens if Louis pins him to the cage? I think that Louis is stronger than him, clearly, from what I've seen in the takedown department of the previous road to UFC fights. Peter Donossi only attempted 1 takedown. Sim-Kei Zhang attempted 9 takedowns, was unable to get any of them against Sulang Rainbow. But like, if I'm looking at Sim-Kei Zhang, I don't know if he possesses the same physicality of Lawrence Louis. So this is one where I think people could be. It's interesting because I think that if you watch the fight film, Sulang Rainbow clearly has better hands and looks the part more than Lawrence Louis, who is just kind of just like blast forward to get close, to just chain wrestle and stick to his opponent. So very sloppy, whereas Sulang Rainbow is kind of like a 𝗔𝗲𝘗𝘁, just a nice finesse to his striking, good speed, good combinations. So I will pick Sulang Rainbow, but be careful, just like having too much conviction on this fight. I mean, he is a southpaw. He is 5'9", and he should punch Lawrence Louis a lot in the face. And Louis did get dropped twice against Zhang Qingyue. So maybe I'm just being a little too cautious. I'll probably bet Sulang Rainbow to win via KO, TKO. But as far as like DFS, it is a lighter weight class, right? So 135 pounds tend to not have as many finishes as heavyweights. So if you're asking me to pick one, and you're like, all right, Tallison Teixeira, or Tallison Teixeira, who's a heavyweight, or Sulang Rainbow, and there's only $100 difference, I'm most likely always going to pick the heavyweight fighter just because of the likelihood of a finish. But yeah, give me Sulang Rainbow here to end up beating Lawrence Louis.
My counterpoint to that, P, would be, what type of contest we in?
Yeah.
If you tell me in a large field GPP, I probably go with the bantamweight just because I think I'm going to get a little bit of leverage on the field.
Yeah, I mean, definitely with the leverage for sure.
But and like, it's the first fight of the night, so that'll work out well for me.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Sulang Rainbow, he only landed 54 strikes, but he threw 112 in his most recent fight. So, like, yeah. I don't know. It's not like he's landing hundreds and could have tons of volume. So if he doesn't pick up that KO early, I think that he could be somewhat of a bust. Whereas like Tallison Teixeira and Tai Tuivasa, if that went 15 minutes, I think I'd be extremely surprised.
Yeah, and might very well be a very boring and sloppy heavyweight fight.
I don't even know what could happen for that to happen.
Let's hope we don't get that tomorrow night here.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, oof. None of us want to see sloppy heavyweight action. Let's just call it what it is. Let's get into our straight up fight picks. Main event, give me underdog number 1, Diego Lopes.
Yeah, I'm going to go Lopes. Slight lean for me.
I'll go Benoit Saint-Denis.
I'm going to go BSD as well.
Give me underdog number 2, Rafael Fiziev.
Man, I feel awful doing this. I think I'm going to go Mauricio Huffy.
Okay. I'll go Teixeira, but would not be surprised either one of these guys win the fight. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm going to go Teixeira.
I'll go Quillan.
Quillan Salkillo, yep.
I'll go Billy.
Yep, Billy Elekana.
Give me Cam.
Cam Rowston.
Give me Finney.
I'm going Finney as well.
Give me Elliott.
Opposite of you, I'm going Mikhailov.
Rizza.
I'm going to go 𝗍𝗲𝘁𝗀.
Kim.
Sangwook Kim for me.
I'll go Sebastian.
𝗵𝗁𝘁𝗲.
And 𝗚𝗏 Rainbow.
𝗚𝗏 Rainbow.
So I've got 4 underdogs this week, so we'll see how well that comes in. I'll get some super chats. Got here from Sam. Top leverage play at each salary range. So we look in the 9,000 range.
𝗚𝗏 Rainbow.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It has to be.
It just makes you wonder where Salkillo's ownership is going to be, but 𝗚𝗏 Rainbow is probably the right answer there. In the 8,000 range, we got a ton in the 8,000 range. God, is it Nakamura?
Oh, shit. Yeah, he's 8,100. Yeah, I mean, we do have a lot, huh?
There is one,
even
2.
Fiziev, too. Yeah.
We get 10.
Damn.
Yeah, a lot in the 8 and 7K range this week. In the 7K range, ooh, for a leverage play,
I'd say Tafa.
yeah, I was looking at Tafa or 𝗏𝗏. I don't like 𝗏𝗏 to win that fight, but could be a decent leverage spot.
Also, to kind of say, like, any of these road to UFC fighters could be leverage if people just want to do a wait and see approach. Because, most people are not watching road to UFC or regional tape or any of that stuff. So for them to not have any box scores, what are people developing their data on?
No doubt about it.
It's all a guess.
And then, of course, in the 6K range, you got Brundage and Mullarkey.
Golly.
If you had to roster one,
I would roster Mullarkey over would I?
A DQ win for Brundage.
Would I? I mean, Brundage picked up 3 takedowns against Eric McConaughey.
Yeah.
You would have, if you roster Cody, you just have to hope that Cam just tries to be Mr. Jiu-Jitsu guy off of his back.
Yeah, definitely don't. Other one from Sam was Jason and Pete special. The first fight of the night, I mean, 𝗚𝗏 Rainbow would be the one I would go with in terms of that one. Then 𝐴2 would be Huffy, Ruffy, and Fiziev. I like Fiziev in that one. I know you're leaning Huffy on that one.
Yeah, the 8,200, 8,000 fight is just a complete coin flip, as the odds suggest, and one where I will just kick back and watch it.
Sam's over under on finishes 5.5. I like
that number.
I think it's too low.
Really?
13 fights. You look at the UFC dangling that $25,000 finish bonus out there.
That shit should have happened a long time ago. It's so stupid.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, maybe 6.5 is the number.
Best leverage play.
I think 𝗍𝗲𝘁𝗀 is at an interesting spot because the 9,000s are nice.
It's a good one. Best takedown upside. I think the sneaky takedown upside is Rafael Fiziev.
I just don't expect him to do it all.
I don't either. Yeah, but I think that's a sneaky one.
Got to be Elekana for me.
Yeah, that definitely throws one there. Ranking the 9K options. One is easy to me, is
Salkillo.
Quillan. Two, man, this is 2 through 5 is. I don't know if there's a clear number 2 for me. It's probably Tallison Teixeira just because of the finishing upside and the fantasy score upside, but it would either be Teixeira or Rowston number 2, and then probably Saint Denis 4, and then Sulang number 5.
It's really close.
Yeah.
It really is close. But Sulang's clearly the worst option, I think.
Yeah.
Even though I'm picking him.
Yeah. Value plays underneath 8K in a core 3 on DraftKings. Value plays underneath 8K. The ones that stick out to me, Elliott, Lopes, Finney. Those would be my top 3 under 8K.
Yeah, I like Lopes, Finney, and I like Kim too. I think Sangwook Kim is an interesting spot, and I don't agree with the odds.
In terms of a core 3, I want to look at the dummy lineup I put together this morning just to see what I actually put in there. I think for me, it's the core starts with Diego Lopes and Rafael Fiziev. Yeah, I hate, we're basically talking about 2 underdogs at the end of the day. Number 3 for me would probably be Cam.
See, it's tricky. I wouldn't start my core in the middle. I would start it with one of the 9,000 options that I love the most. Yeah. And for me, it's Tallison Teixeira, despite what the hell has he really proven? Nothing as of yet. And then I'd have to look at Mr. Takedown and Torres Finney, just because I know he's going to shoot takedowns. And then my third is somebody in the main event.
No doubt about that. Of course, we do have our DraftKings contest is live. Be sure to get into that contest. Also, Peace Guys Patreon page. You'll have those data up for you here later on tonight, so you can sign up. The link for that is in the description below. Of course, you can check out this show video-wise, YouTube, Spotify, hear audio if you're just a podcast audio person, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart. You can check out the podcast there. Of course, we'll be back here next week as we are back to garage fighting.
I'm with it.
We're
with
at
it. I don't care.
The meta apex.
The meta garage. I'm okay with it. 6 weeks without fights. I ain't complaining no more.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the 1 week in February that we don't have UFC fights is actually when I'll be in Vegas, so that's going to be a little unfortunate. But I'm sure me and my brother and dad will still have a great time out there. But as always, we appreciate everyone who tunes in for every episode of Fight HQ, and we will talk to you next week.